Hello, this is Lauren Delsack, and welcome back to the Draconic Chart. Let's take a look at a few other variables that you can study in the Draconic Chart alone by itself. The final dispositor of any horoscope is always going to have added strength. The concerns of the house that planet rules will also be important. The final dispositor of a horoscope is a planet falling into the sign in which it rules. Let's take a look at the horoscope of Whoopi Goldberg, comedian and actress. In the natal horoscope of Whoopi Goldberg, there is no final dispositor. However, in her Draconic Chart, Jupiter in Sagittarius is the final dispositor ruling the public 7th house. So expression of opinions will be thrust out to the world in the hope of receiving recognition in terms of ego and status. Goldberg is also known as an outspoken supporter of the gay and lesbian community, and in 1999 she received the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation Vanguard Award for her continued work in supporting the homosexual community. In Goldberg's Sun-Moon Draconic blend, we see the Sun in Pisces and the Moon in Aquarius, and this sets up a blend that registers as humanitarianism. The especially sensitive life energy fuels the need behaviors to be important to others and to be socially significant. The personality knows just what's best for the world and will usually seek out an opportunity to work for that ideal or support other people who do. If we take a look back also at Prince's natal horoscope, we note that Venus in Taurus is the final dispositor. Venus is also the final dispositor in his Draconic horoscope, but in the sign of Libra, ruling the public 7th. This might infer the importance that Venus plays in his soul's evolution in terms of creativity and artistry. We also see strength in the arts as well in the Draconic charts of Barbra Streisand and Mariah Carey, with Venus as its final dispositor. As in the case of Whoopi Goldberg, both Streisand and Carey's natal horoscopes do not have a final dispositor. In the Draconic chart, however, of Streisand, Venus in Libra rules her Libran ascendant and co-rules the 7th. And for Mariah Carey, Draconic Venus in Taurus is the final dispositor, so perhaps this suggests a lineage in their past of artistry, musical talent, or show business, with Venus being so prominent as final dispositors. It's just some additional food for thought. There are also several midpoints, 2 midpoints, that I think that are important in looking at the Draconic chart by itself. The angles of the horoscope are so important in terms of identity growth that their midpoint must be essential for deeper understanding and awareness of who we are. That midpoint is the Midheaven-ascendant midpoint, which would reflect our soul's identity development and what's needed for further growth and awareness. Now, keep in mind that all midpoint configurations will be the same in both the natal and Draconic chart, since the aspects between planets and points are identical in both horoscopes. The only difference is that in the Draconic chart, the midpoints are located in a different degree in a particular sign. In Woody Allen's Draconic chart, the Midheaven-ascendant midpoint falls on the Aries point, and it is equal to Moon-Mercury and Moon-Jupiter midpoints. So we could say that the fulfillment of his soul's identity and growth is dependent upon emotional perception, an active mind, thinking with his feelings, which relates to the Moon-Mercury, as well as publicity, success, and happiness with Moon-Jupiter. One other possible manifestation of the Moon-Mercury midpoint would be exchange of thoughts with the female sex, and often the central theme depicted in Allen's films relate to this area. Eberton also defines this midpoint as young girls, intellectually or mentally active women, and exposure to criticism and gossip. Well, in 1997, Woody Allen married Sue Yi Previn, the adopted daughter of his ex-lover Mia Farrow. This configuration of Midheaven-ascendant Moon Mercury and Moon Jupiter is also equal to the Sun-Moon midpoint, which is symbolic of personal relationships. So that's an interesting draconic midpoint configuration. Now you might also be interested in looking at the Sabian symbols for some of these midpoint configurations and planets in the Draconic chart. If we use Woody Allen, for example, and we look at that Draconic Midheaven Ascendant midpoint at 1 Libra 26, it falls on the second degree of Libra. And incorporating the Sabian symbol, a comedian entertains a group for 2 Aries, and light of the 6th race transmuted to the 7th into Libra. According to Blaine Bovey in his fabulous book on Sabian symbols, he says, watch for natural comics who use humor to lighten the air. Consider humor as a means to deflect disappointment. So Woody Allen's identity awareness and growth becomes clearer when we study his draconic horoscope and we delve into these midpoints and even bring in the Sabian symbols. Now you could also focus on the Sun-Moon midpoint, because this represents the essence of relationships with others and the world, and it speaks of integration, the ability to join together 2 halves, the male-female, conscious-subconscious, husband-wife. So any planet configured with the Sun-Moon midpoint in the natal horoscope will be configured with the Sun-Moon midpoint in the Draconic as well. So if it falls at the Aries point in either chart, natal or Draconic, the Sun-Moon midpoint will be intensified and brought forward. And regardless if a planet or point is configured with that midpoint picture, even if it falls on the Aries point, it represents a yearning for fame, for prominence, exposure publicly, which can dominate the identity. So one may feel a need to perform and to be seen. Bringing up David Letterman again as a good example, we can see his caustic and antagonistic humor in the configuration of Sun-Moon equals the Mercury-Pluto midpoint, and it's intensified at the Aries point. So Mercury and Pluto symbolizes the art of persuasion, a quick grasp of situations, an amazingly sharp criticism, intellectual triumph over others, being sly and cunning. Bill Maher, comedian actor, best known for his humor and political satire with the shows Real Time and Politically Incorrect, he has the Sun-Moon midpoint configured with the Moon-Uranus midpoint in his horoscope. And in the Draconic chart, this configuration sits right at the Aries point. Well, Moon-Uranus is going to add emotional excitability, a strong will and determination, an unconditional pursuit of one's own convictions, and the impulsivity to fulfill one's needs. And we also find his draconic moon in Leo. So his relationship with the public is dependent upon a desire for center stage, emotional excitability, drama, and the pursuit of his own beliefs. And at the Aries point, again, it's going to be an intensified pattern, easily seen by other people. So take a look at the Midheaven-ascendant midpoint, the Sun-Moon midpoint in the Draconic chart. Look to see if it falls at the Aries point. Look to see what it's configured with, other planets or other midpoints, and see how that may be a strong factor in someone's makeup. In the next talk, we'll recap the variables that we've discussed thus far, and then we'll move into the synastry between the Draconic chart and the natal horoscope. Thanks for listening.